ukaramba uchitamba nanatsuro magenga your friends, the 8 to 5 crew, they will tell you every reason why you must not do it. Because Mudogara, you want to stay. Hala, it's your boy George Billionaire. Another Monday, another day to go and do what we know how to do best. So hustle hard. It's an amazing program. If this is your first time on this amazing channel, make sure that you go and like, comment, and watch all the videos that we do on this amazing platform. Now, I always say this quote, and I'm sure even you're going to be like, yeah, I think that makes sense what he's saying. And this quote is this, and it's the biggest lie ever told to people. People were told this, that knowledge is power. You've heard that before, right? And that's the greatest lie ever told, because knowledge is not power, because there's so many people out there with knowledge. What you're watching here are series and so many videos full of knowledge. But that knowledge alone never changed people's lives. But what actually changes people's lives is what is called application of knowledge. Are you applying what you are learning into life and making it become practical? That's what changes life. So it's like a seed. A seed in your pocket will never germinate. So is it with knowledge. If you don't apply knowledge, it will not work. If you don't spray the perfume onto your body, you won't smell good. So you must begin to apply this knowledge, not only from me, from so many people you've read books, watched videos, and learned from. And when hustle hard, what we're about to go and do right now is to give out information, give out knowledge that I have learned and experienced in my life that has totally transformed me in the way I think, the way I act, the way I raise my kids, the way I am as a man, because I deliberately chose to put into practice what I learned. And I can tell you, it has changed my life. If you begin to apply these things that are on this George Billionaire YouTube channel, all these videos, some of them with my kids, some of them in the studio, some of them with various people I've interviewed, remember this: application of knowledge is power. Let's get in the studio. It's your boy. Let's go.
It's 24 minutes before 1 o'clock, and you are tuning into the Pulse and Capital 100.4 FM. And now it's time for us to get into Hustle Hard with the one and only George Billionaire. And on Hustle Hard, you know, we talk all things business. We seek to change your mindset and give you new views on wealth creation and building lasting sources of income. And of course, hoping vakatigirawo masweets. Never know. Hi, George.
Hala. It's your boy George Billionaire, and it's always good to be back with the amazing ladies here in the studio. And I can tell you the vibe in the studio is always correct with these ladies. I got an amazing welcome back, and it's good to be back in the studio. Last week I wasn't here, I was away, but we sent an audio, and when I was away, I'd gone with my son who was swimming and representing the country, and amazing things. You know, he did a lot of good things there, and you know, big shout out to the Zimbabwe team who went to the Sanji swimming competitions in South Africa, which was totally amazing. So that was that. I was away, but definitely now I'm back, and as always, we must continue to give people knowledge, to give people some inspiration, to give people some hope. And I think I've said this so many times, and I'm going to say it because it will make sense once you hear this. Why we are on this particular program and show is specifically for a reason. And that reason is this: we are here to give you knowledge. And the biggest lie ever told on planet Earth is that knowledge is power. That is the biggest lie ever told. Because there are so many people out there with knowledge, but their lives have not changed. But what we need to do with this knowledge that we have been dishing out here on this program is to apply it. So that quote should say, application of knowledge is power. So what we then do with this information is what will make our lives different. There are many people, many a times, who call me soon after the show, wow, George, that was powerful. That was thought-provoking. Wow, you really inspire me. The purpose of this show is not inspiration. The purpose of this show is that people may be transformed by getting knowledge and applying it. And I give this example to say that what you are getting on this show is an example of a seed. But if you don't put that seed into the ground, that seed will never germinate. And you will just be a person in possession of one seed. But with the knowledge you get, if you put it into the ground, you will begin to see it bearing fruit, and that seed will multiply. So as we get onto the show today, it's important that people understand knowledge is not power, but application of knowledge is power. So let's just not be hearers, but let's be applicators of this knowledge that we are getting.
It is Capital 100.4 FM Malawi's Heartbeat, and we are talking all things side hustling, the pros and cons today. So you always tell us the pros. We've learnt about the pros every now and then. We know it's important to have a side hustle, and you just tell us every now and then, do not be stuck on your job, just overly broke. You need to move. You never know what the world. I was listening to Falake's show today, and they were talking about how the economy, if the war keeps on going on like this, things could get worse. And imagine if things get worse, and what are you going to do if you have no income on the side that is not only your job? So today we want to discuss the pros and cons of side hustling, so that when I get into it, I know what I should prepare for, and I know what I should look out for.
Yeah, so I think I like talking practically, especially with the journey I chose to travel with Pro Air, which is the journey I urge so many people out there to actually start something, because like you're saying, that things are definitely going to get a lot more challenging. Definitely, this is a must that people should realize, because what our phones alone can do is taking a lot of people's jobs away.
True.
Right? What technology alone is doing is taking a lot of people's jobs away. We've seen AI, there's now AI where people can actually get a sermon preached by AI. AI can do a lot. So there's a lot that is happening in the world, but if we fail to adapt, we're going to be in serious problem. Now, the pros of you starting a side hustle. Now, get this correctly. There are many people watching us who are, or listening to us, who are earning a specific salary. And if you just rely on that and your job finishes, you're going to be in serious turmoil and things are going to be hard. But the pros are this. If you start a side hustle and you begin to put a little on a little, soon it will become much. And when people hear this, it sounds like, George, I don't even earn that much for me to start. But I can tell you that all successful people who you read about, who are multi-millionaires, started. That's the greatest secret. They started. As long as you continue relying on your job, I can tell you, it's only a matter of time. Either you will lose your job, or what is called age will catch up with you, and you are not going to be needed at your so-called kubasa kwa wakatemba kuti, yeah, I'm there. One of those two things will catch up. Age or technology and all these advancements. So the pros to starting a side hustle is that it's going to increase your streams of income. You're not just going to be paid at the end of the month. You can be paid every other day depending on the business that you're doing. So that's the number one pro. But people must understand this. It's just like a seed I spoke about earlier on. It does not germinate day 1, day 2, day 3. It takes time to build a business. It also takes hard work ethic for you to do that one thing. We spoke of the famous acronym FOCUS, follow one course until success. What is it that people know you for when they mention your name? As much as you are working, I know all your ladies in the studio are working here, but I know for certain that this is not the only thing that you do. Imagine if it was just this you relied on. That would be a serious disaster, because as much as I know all of you, you guys are smelling good, you guys are looking good, your colognes alone are able to pay somebody's salary. So because you also decided to go the journey less traveled, you're now able to cater to some of those needs that you have. So people who are listening right now, I urge people, the biggest pro you can do for yourself, even for your future, as you grow older, you're not going to be able to wake up 8 to 5. You're going to need something. So there are so many pros. I remember in 2012 when I resigned from work, when I used to earn $300, the best thing I ever did. When I look back, yes, it might have been scary, but I chose to say, listen, I don't have a plan B. You know, there's so many people who have went to university, they've got qualification. But that decision that I made in 2012 to jump ship and go the journey less traveled and start this journey with Pro Air was the best decision I made. Was it scary? Yes. But if you look at me now, I can tell you, the George who people saw in 2012 and the George you see today, because of that one decision. So the pros are you will definitely have a lot more disposable income, freedom, you're able to do what you want. But if you stay in what people call the rat race, the 8 to 5, your whole life, there's going to come a time when things are going to become hectic and you're not going to be able to take care of your family and your personal needs.
Okay, George, in our previous episodes, you talked about identifying a hustle that you want to have. And then you mentioned that if you want to identify a hustle, you have to make sure that it's solving a problem.
Yeah.
But then there's also that issue of passion that comes into play. Because when you come up with a brand, for example, it's something that speaks to you. You have to have the passion to do it,
Yep.
right? So how do you then, what kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to start a brand? Because a brand is just, it's not just a story, it's a legacy in action. So it also then has to speak to who you are. So how then does one identify?
Wow, okay, so that's a brilliant question, and you know, I think I've mentioned this before, that the very first business I ever started was selling freezers in grade 6, right? So there are many things that I've done. I graduated at the University of Zimexmo with my faculty of hustle. I've spoken about that, where I was selling phones, and I was doing so many things, but the one common thing I was doing is I was selling, right? I found that people need this, that, and the other. So what you need to do with building a brand, it doesn't happen overnight. I can tell you, Pro Air, the first year was not known by many, but I had to consistently keep waking up every morning, and people who know me every day of my life, I'm always wearing Pro Air somewhere, somehow, whether it's the car I drive or somewhere, because that's what you call building a brand. Because there's somebody every day who is seeing your brand for the very first time. And I always say this to people who are entrepreneurs: if you don't love your brand first, nobody's going to love your brand. If you don't post about your product or service on your WhatsApp status, on Facebook, and Kudara, I was blocked on many WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups because I didn't know, this group is just for this particular topic we're talking about. But for me, I would just broadcast everywhere because I wanted people to see. But if you see that was the passion like you're talking about. I wanted it to be known. I wanted it to be seen. Saka, when you become an entrepreneur, you must not give a hoot about people's opinions. Not every day. We now know Pro Air, George. We've seen it. But then there's one day that people are going to ask about your product. And somebody's going to say, wait, I saw this flyer this guy sent me, and I sent it. So for me, people who ask about what business should I start, I always say find a niche, find something that you say, wait a minute, I see a problem. There's climate change. Let me get into air conditioning. What do I need to do? I need to learn about it. I need to find out, where do I get these air cons? You know, what best way can I do it? What are others doing currently in the market that I can do better? You know, and then you start. That's the thing. And there's no business you could answer too many people are doing it. If you think of going to buy chicken for lunch right now, because remember, people need to eat every day. People need to brush their teeth. People need water to drink. All of those are things people need every day. So those are potential things that you can be able to sell and come up with. And then you are known specifically for that one thing. So it's important just people identify a niche, be known for it. Precious, don't sell this today and the next month you're doing something else. Then the next month no, be known. Because all the people that we know who are successful are known for 1, chavakaramba vakabatirira pachiri, but wakaita a jack of all trade and a master of none, you will never reach success. So it all comes down to rightfully what you said: identify something. And don't get the excuse. You know, so many people are selling clothes. So many people are doing this.
Yeah.
There's no new business under the sun that you can say, I started this. There's a business. And you know, when you go on the internet and you start and register a company, I challenge all people. You think your business is the very first one. Go and type in the name of your business. You'll see it is in some very odd country. But that's in that country. But you are here in Africa. So you use that region that you're in, do that business, because there's nothing new under the sun. But with people, to name an excuse, we want to give every reason. The
And
most
you know,
horrible disease.
We get a lot of, if you do a side hustle, it's going to benefit you this way, it's going to benefit you that way. But very few people talk about the downside of
what we should prepare for.
Very few people talk about the downside or the challenges that comes with a side hustle. You know, trying to balance, you know, that work-life balance, to try to balance work, your job, and the side hustle. Because remember, it has to be a side hustle until at some point you leave the job and then it becomes the main hustle.
You know,
when to actually leave.
Yeah. So, you know, you remind me so much of, as you were talking, of the time when I started. And I was so passionate about it. I lost connection with my friends because most of my friends were still employed. So they didn't understand what I was doing. I remember, for a good year or so, I used to sleep very late, wake up very early. I used to go on the street, I lost a lot of contact, even with family, with my own kids. But what I did then, I did what was hard back then, so that now my life could be a lot easier. So entrepreneurship is not for everybody who's going to not be there at every occasion. Friends want to go out. You can't do that because you're focused. There's a lot of pressure. And I tell people, imagine when you become a boss, you have people to pay. When you become a boss of many, you have to listen to everybody's problems and you have to be able to assist them. Maybe before you even assist yourself. So there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of, you've got kids' fees, you've got a lot. Because my salary, I can take care of this. But yes, they are precious. But I can tell you this, the greatest thing that all entrepreneurs have ever sat down and had a conversation with is that they left the rat race. They left the 8 to 5 and they started a business. They may have stayed at the 8 to 5, but they added another stream of income. So time retirement and they are told you must go or something happens in the world. They have an additional stream of income. So people must realize that things are changing. And if you don't have a side hustle, you will certainly remember this amazing show. But it will be too late. But there's nothing called too late because you can still start now. And I say this all the time. The salary you have is a seed. It doesn't matter how small it is. If you do something with it, business-wise, not consumption-wise, because most of us, we get money and we want to consume. But if you use part of it to invest it into either a chicken project or something, put 100 in a month time, 200, and you then begin to just do that over and over again until it actually causes you to have a reliance in your own income that you would have created.
But there are people who do not have it in them to hustle. There are men who literally just cannot do anything outside of his accounting job, his 9 to 5, right? How do you teach an old dog new tricks?
It's like you literally got into my mind. Right now I was just thinking, is everyone meant to hustle?
Yeah, how do you go about it? Yeah.
I love this verse in the Bible that says, do not be conformed to this world. Right? And this world has taught us that 8 to 5 is the way to go. But Anzi, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And you see what we're doing here on Hustle Hard? We are deliberately trying to change the software of those people you are talking about. the diehards will tell you, no, I am 8 to 5. My name is 8 to 5 every day. This is what I do. But then, if you hear what we are saying, that if you want to see the other side of life, because I know everybody listening to us today has desires of a better life. But that better life may not just only be catered for by your 8 to 5. You need to do something else. And remember, my message to people, especially with hustling, every entrepreneur began as a hustler. It started small until it grew. And you'll see most people then left their jobs to give focus on to their side hustle, which then became their main cash cow and their main stream of income. But most people never actually start, like you're saying, because Vanochka, they are full of fear. But, the word of God, do not fear, but we are always full of fear. And because of that, we are going to die poor, because we were scared of what could have gone wrong, and we didn't see what could have gone right. I tell the story about how my dad always told me, to George, stay in employment. And this is many people, because they'll tell you, no, stay there. At least you're being paid something. Had I listened to some of the counsel I got,
at least the new God was with a man.
had I listened to most of those people, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I tell you, what I used to earn as $300, and I remember I used to put $10, $15 fuel. Back then, in the car I used to drive. But then, now it's totally different, because I chose what was hard so that my life many years later would be easy. And I think that's the simple take-home people should have, that if you keep doing what is easy now, which is 8 to 5, please hear me. Time is ticking. You are not growing any younger, right? The robots are certainly coming, and they are coming quickly. They are going to take...
I have a question for you, George. I'm thinking, here is someone who's tried selling fuses like you did. Here is someone who tried cattle fattening. They tried, and then at some point they just hit rock bottom. They try something else. So what advice would you give those people? Because I think this is what yields the 8 to 5 person to say, you know what, I don't think I'm cut out for this.
I like the song by Aliyah, and if at first you don't succeed, right, dust yourself and try again. Because all the people that I know who became successful did not succeed the first time. We know the story of Thomas Edison. We know the story of the greats here in the country. All of them, I could mention them, they didn't get the break the first time. All of them, they fell down 7 times, 8 times. But they kept going, and with more enthusiasm, because they had the bigger picture. You know what? I believe in this thing and it's going to work. And that's the attitude that you must have for you to succeed. I tell you all the time about my son. He never used to always come number 1 in swimming, nor did my daughter. But every time you learn something, because failure is a bridge to success. Most people who have failed the most are the ones who have succeeded the most. So I'm gonna feel like 1, 2, 3. If you can still count, you have not failed. You have not failed. You must fail so many times, because every failure are important, critical lessons that are only going to strengthen you so that you become the person that you're supposed to be. So if ever you keep failing and people are laughing at you, it is a training that you are going through that's going to make sense later on. Then you'll understand, I shouldn't have given people stuff on credit in my first business, because that's what made me broke. Next time, let me just operate on a straight cash upfront business. Now you operate with no cash, no delivery, because you've learned. But had you not learned that, it was better with a $50 order. Imagine if it's a $100,000 order and you borrowed money from someone to deliver. So it was better the $50 that you lost. But it was a good lesson, but it prepared you for now when you are doing your business and you are excelling.
Right, interesting. Thank you so much for that information, George. I was going to then ask Kuti. Pakutaya up and 12 times, where then do we draw the line to say, okay, where does sister competition?
Do you know,
this is
you know, I say this all the time, and this is a very key and important element to success. Hans, if you hang around with successful people, you too will also
Will be
become successful.
Okay.
So if you are keeping on trying and you are hanging around with people who have never done it, I can guarantee you, you'll keep failing.
Okay.
But if you are deliberate, say, listen, I want to start a business. Let me also hang around with people who have started business. Let me ask them. Let me not make the mistakes that they made. I can guarantee you there's no way you will also continue to fail, because they will tell you their failures and what they did to overcome them. And then you are not going to do that. But Wakarambo Chitamba, Nanatsuro Magenga, your friends, the 8 to 5 crew, they will tell you every reason why you must not do it. Because Mudogara, you want to stay together. I did not mention any names. You guys are very entrepreneurial here.
So if you're playing with, if you're spending time with rich people and you're not making progress, that means something is wrong
There's
with
something
you.
wrong with you.
There must be a big rock. Because there's no way. How can you be my friend and still be... Anyway, it's
Wait, I'll walk out of this room. I'll come back.
Shots fired.
Because what is that supposed to mean?
All right, thank you so much, George, for coming through. It's always a pleasure having you. It is 1 o'clock in Capital. Do stand by for the news.
Precious